Good evening to all of you. Hope all are well. Today is the first class of indirect tax of CA final under new syllabus. So it is a very good that we are starting the new syllabus. I hope all well. एक बार सभी लोग कंफर्म करें so that we can start. Audio, video, everything is okay. Very good evening, Ravindra Kumar, Vanshika, Sivasekhar, and all. Before starting the today topic, let me talk about 10-15 minutes the basic concept of the GST. We all know that the first chapter is the supply taxable event in the GST. Very good evening, Alisha, Prerna, Pavitra, Mansa. So before we start the today topic, let me talk about some concept of the GST, of the basic of the GST. We all know the GST was introduced in India on which date? The GST was introduced on which date? We all know that 1st July 2017, the GST was introduced. The constitution has been amended 101th time. So that is the reason we are calling Constitution 101 Amendment Act 2016. As a result, the GST was introduced from July 1, 2017. When the model, which model was adopted by the India has adopted dual GST concurrent model. India has adopted dual GST concurrent model. What is the meaning of dual GST model? It means if the supply is within the state, then center and state both have the power to levy the GST. And if supply is interstate, then only parliament has power to levy the tax. Can anybody tell me, if the supply is between two states, which tax will be charged? If the supply is between two states, which tax will be charged? If the supply is in the course of interstate trade or commerce, then we all know IGST would be charged. And same, if it is within the state, then CGST and SGST. If that particular territorial location is union territory, then CGST and UTGST would be charged. Absolutely correct. Very nice. Thank you so much for your active response. Now, can you please give me the answer? Can you please give me the answer that if the supply is from one union territory to another union territory, which tax would be charged? Is it CGST and UTGST? Is it CGST and SGST? Is it only UTGST? Is it only IGST? This time, the supply is between one union territory to another union territory. Then which tax would be charged? Is it only UTGST? Is it only IGST, CGST and SGST, or CGST and UTGST? So we all know that whenever the supply is between two different states, or whenever the supply is between two different union territory, then always IGST. Whether it is from one state to another state, one state to another union territory, another state to union, another one state to the another state, one UT to another UT, one state to UT, one UT to another state. Whenever the supply is between two different state or UT, it is called as interstate and only IGST would be charged. Please do not, uh, uh, I have received certain reply, IGST and UTGST, CGST and UTGST, it cannot be. Please note one thing, only IGST if it is between two state or two union territory or one state UT or vice versa. Clear? Now, when the GST was introduced and this model was adopted, correct, then they have launched one common portal, which is called as GST common portal, which is www.gst.gov.in, is being managed by the Goods and Service Tax Network. Goods and Service Tax Network. Let me talk about 2 minutes about the GSTN. So GSTN, earlier it is a semi-government and semi-private company, but now in the last year, it become 100% government enterprise. Earlier, the composition was different, but now the Goods and Service Tax Network is a government company. 100% share owned by the government, central and state. Now, this is the backbone of the GST, who manage the entire GST portal, wherein the user taxpayer are filing the return, officer are doing the assessment, issuing the notice. Almost all the things are being happen on the GST portal. Another portal, ewaybill.gst.gov.in. Correct. ewaybill.gst.gov.in. That is another portal for generation of e-waybill. Multiple reports are there. Again, that e-invoice concept is introduced in the GST. For that, there is 10 common GST portal. So these are the common GST portal, which is being managed by the Goods and Service Tax Network. And this is really backbone of the GST. Then there is one more concept, that GSP. GST Suvidha Provider. So there are various technology company to whom the API, etc. access has been given by the GSTN, so that we can take the service from these GST Suvidha provider to get various access to file the return, to generate the e-way bill, to generate the e-invoice, etc. Multiple things we can do on that from the using that Suvidha provider. Now, can anybody tell me that what is the compensation cess? Can anybody tell me what is the compensation cess, and it was applicable in the current date or not? I'm talking about GST compensation cess. What is that compensation cess? On which product it is being levied? Whether the period for levying the compensation has been over, or it is still continue in the current date. The compensation cess, initially it was for 5 years. By the name, it clear that when the GST was introduced, Parliament has assured every state government that in case of the loss of the revenue to the state, we will compensate for the difference of the taxes, short collection because of the GST. compensate, they have introduced GST compensation cess, which is normally levied on the sin product or luxury product. For example, pan masala, tobacco. Luxury means utility vehicles, luxury cars, coal, etc. But the period of the 5 year has been finished on 30th June 2022. But it was again extended till 31st March 2026. Why it has been extended? Whether this extension is to compensate the state, please note carefully. The extension from June 22, 1st July 2022 to 31st March 2026. This increase is not to compensate the state. Then why they have increased the compensation cess ka period? In the COVID period, central government is continuing to give the compensation to every state. But we all know at that point of time, there was very minimal sale. So the government ka collection was very less. But still, government has given the compensation to every state by taking the loan from the Reserve Bank of India. Now that loan that they have taken during the COVID period to repay the state compensation, now they have extended the compensation cess so that they can repay the loan which they have borrowed from the Reserve Bank of India. That was the purpose to extend this compensation cess. Now you all know one thing. Please tell me what is the non-taxable supply in the GST? What is the non-taxable supply in the GST? Very nice reply. Very nice reply. बहुत बढ़िया. विनय, संध्या, शिवाशेखर, मानसा, श्रीराम, appreciated. Prerna, what is my question? What is non-taxable supply? Meaning of non-taxable supply or example of non-taxable supply in the GST. Give me the example of non-taxable supply in the GST. Non-taxable supply I am talking about. What is the non-taxable supply? Non-taxable supply means not leviable to tax. That is the correct definition. It is 1 plus 5. Always remember, non-taxable supply is equal to 1 plus 5. 1 is alcoholic liquor for human consumption and 5 is 5 specified petroleum product, petrol, diesel, ATF, natural turbine fuel. Correct? So these are the non-taxable supply, alcoholic liquor plus 5 specified petroleum product. Please do not include export. Please do not include zero rated supply. Non-taxable means GST cannot be levied on that. But export is leviable to GST. You are getting the refund. What is the zero rated supply? Nothing but the export and supply to the SEZ unit. So kindly do not say that export, etc., zero rated supplies, education are non-taxable. No, sir. There's a difference between non-taxable and exempt supply. If the supply is not leviable to tax, not leviable to GST. It is non-taxable supplies like alcoholic liquor for human consumption, petroleum product. But supply which is leviable, but for the time being, considering the general use, they have exempted by way of notification, like education, like healthcare. These are exempted, means they are supply, they are leviable to tax, but for the time being, government has given the exemption by notification. But please do not say or do not mix exempt supply and non-taxable supplies. These are two different things. One more thing, that the word zero rated supply has been defined in the GST. Section 16 of IGST Act says, Section 16 of IGST Act says that two type of the supply are zero rated. One is export and one is supply to SEZ unit or developer. Now we can say for authorized operation. These terms we will discuss in detail in the respective chapter, but we are talking about some basic concept. That is the reason we are talking about some point, not all and not in detail. Can you tell me name of the product on which excise duty and GST both are levied? Name of the product on which GST and excise duty both are levied. Can you tell me the product on which excise duty and GST both are levied? Thank you so much. Mansa, we will discuss what is the difference between Schedule 3 supply and non-supply goods. When I will explain Section 7 subsection 2, you will understand the meaning of Schedule 3. When I will explain, this is the part of the topic, taxable event GST. When I will reach 7 subsection 2 clause A and the clause B, you will be able to understand the Schedule 3 plus 2 more notification. And then at that point of time, you ask again this question, I will compare the same with the non-taxable supply. But the non-taxable supply is clear, correct? Supply which are not leviable to tax, and that is 1 plus 5. Now, what was my question? The question is that product on which GST and excise both are leviable. Answer is tobacco. Correct. Tobacco related product on which excise duty is also leviable and also GST is leviable. So by this, we have done with the basic concept of the GST. Now we are moving to the supply. Now we are moving to the supply chapter. Now we can say that pre-GST era, there are multiple taxable events. Like for excise duty, what is the taxable event? Manufacturing. For services, what was the taxable event? Rendering of services. For VAT, there is a sale of the goods within the state. Again, CST, sale of the goods from one state to the another state. But when the GST was introduced, that is having only one event. What is that taxable event? Supply. Not only supply, supply of goods or services or both. Clear? This is the taxable event in the GST. Let me ask one question to all of you. Can you tell me which all taxes, any 2, 3, 4 example, the taxes which are subsumed in the GST, and also give me the example that taxes which are not subsumed in the GST. 3, for example, sufficient. Give me 3, for example, for each category. Each category means the taxes which are subsumed in the GST and the taxes which are not subsumed in the GST. You have to give me 3, 4 names for each taxes, subsumed and not subsumed for both the categories. Okay, I'm waiting for the reply. So everything is okay. I think some of the participant I know by name. You were there in the enter probably, if I'm not wrong. Some name are common to me. I can recall that name. But some are new to me. I hope all are comfortable with the speed, with the everything. Please confirm that also. Prerna Kochar, excise, VAT, services, subsumed, Sriram, subsumed. Okay. Vinay, surcharge and cess in the CGST. Okay, Sriram. CST, VAT, additional excise duty, octroi duty, central excise duty, service tax, Tanisha, okay, central sales tax, state tax, okay, very nice answer. Subsumed, central excise duty, additional excise duty, service tax, okay. Which taxes is not subsumed? Can you give me the answer? Which taxes is not subsumed in the GST? अच्छा, not subsumed भी आंसर दिया आप लोगों ने. Okay. Custom duty not subsumed. Excise is not completely subsumed. Okay. Custom is not subsumed. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Entertainment tax. Regarding the entertainment tax, I would like to say entertainment tax, if it is charged by the local body, that has not been subsumed. If it is charged by the state, that has been subsumed. Whether I'm visible or not. Someone is saying that you are not visible. Is it? Whether I'm visible or not. Only green screen is visible. How it can? Right, Tanisha. Sandhya, custom not subsumed. Vinay, property tax, correct. Property tax means not subsumed. Okay. ठीक है. So all are correct. All are correct. Very nice. And now let me move to the discussion. We are talking about that pre-GST, there are multiple taxable events, but after the GST, there is only one taxable event, that is supply of the goods or services. Now, when I use the word supply, I am saying supply of goods or services or both. It means if my transaction is not supply of goods or services, rather, I should say, if my transaction is neither goods nor services. If my transaction is neither goods nor services, will you levy the tax? If my transaction is neither goods nor services, will you levy the tax? Answer would be no. You can't levy the tax, because what is the taxable event? Taxable event is supply of goods or services or both. Matlab, it should be goods, it should be services, then only we can levy the GST. So let me move to the definition of goods and services, so that we can understand what is not goods, what is not services, and the item which are not goods, item which are not services, GST can't be levied on that. This principle is clear to all, right? So the term goods has been defined in the GST. It says that every kind of movable property, actionable claim, and growing crop. What is the meaning of the goods? Goods means every kind of movable property other than money and security. Same, if you read the definition of services, it says that money and security means services mean anything other than goods, money, and security. What can we conclude? We can conclude that money and securities are two common items which are neither goods nor services. Let me go back to the previous slide. We have discussed that taxable event of GST is supply. Supply of what? Goods or services or both. So if I say my underlying item is neither goods nor services, example money and security, then will the GST be levied on money and security? Answer is no. Read the definition once again. Goods means every kind of movable property. Stop. By this line, we can conclude one thing, that if I sell immovable property, if I sell my land, then GST can't be levied by saying goods. If I am supplying any immovable property, can it be supply of goods? Answer is 100% no. Now read the definition of service. Service means anything other than goods. So if you like to tax immovable property, if GST like to tax immovable property, they can tax only in the name of services. They can tax only in the name of services. That is the reason renting of immovable property are taxable. Under construction sale of property are taxable by saying supply of service. Under construction immovable property are taxable by saying the construction service. But once the property is completed, then it cannot be taxable. It can be taxable only under the heading of services, not under the heading of goods. If property is completed, it become immovable property, and sale of immovable property cannot be goods. Sale of land cannot be goods and cannot be service also. And therefore, there is one schedule come into the picture. And what is the name? Schedule 3. Please quickly tell me what is the Schedule 3. Not tell me the example. Only tell me what is the concept of Schedule 3. एक बार मुझे बताएं Schedule 3 का मतलब क्या है, या Schedule 3 में कौन कौन से ट्रांजेक्शन है. What is the head note of the Schedule 3? What is the head note of the Schedule 3? What is the Schedule 3? हाँ ना, ये whatever the PPT I am using, I will share the PPT with the institute. they will upload this PPT in your login. So schedule 3 is negative list. Means neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Please not to use the word neither goods nor services. See, one participant has used the word neither goods nor services. Try to differentiate these two terms. If I am saying neither goods nor services, and if I am saying neither supply of the goods nor supply of services, then answer for this would be money and security, which we just now had discussed. Money and security. But if I'm using the word neither supply of the goods nor supply the services, answer would be schedule 3 plus notification. 2 notification are issued in the this particular list, and the respective provision is 7 subsection 2 of CGST Act. Please note down this. Now, it means sale of land and sale of completed building are given in the schedule 3 para number 5. When I will explain, then you will understand that sale of land and completed building. Why I am using the word completed building? Because there is some cross reference of schedule 2, which we will discuss in the schedule 2 and schedule 3. But for the time being, sale of land and completed building are covered in the negative list and out of GST. I hope it is clear. Now, money and security are neither goods nor services. But they are saying if you are converting the money from one form currency denomination to the another form currency denomination, and for which the separate consideration, we will discuss the consideration in very, very detail, for which the separate consideration is charged. Let's say you are giving me the INR, I am giving you the GBP, or I am giving you the US dollar. And for which I am charging, let's say, X amount. It means I am not supplying the money to you. I am providing the service of converting the money from one form to the another form, one denomination to the another denomination. It is a service. And same they are saying service include facilitating or arranging the transaction in security. So security per se is not the supply, not the goods or services. Money is not the goods or services. But if you are converting the money from one form currency denomination to another form, it is a service. And also they are saying if someone is facilitating or buying, arranging the transaction in security. Let's say I have the demat account with my broker, Angel Broking, Motilal Oswal, for which they are charging some amount. They are not selling the security, but they are providing the assistance to me for buying or selling the security. And as a result, their transaction would be supply of service chargeable to GST. Let me answer the question and then we'll move to the definition of supply. There are certain questions. Let me give the answer quickly. Okay, Viraj. Thank you. How do we get your notes? Prerna, I will give the institute and institute will upload the same. What about the sale of stock in trade? stock in trade, sale of stock in trade. Stock in trade means you are talking about security. Securities and money, two things are not goods, not services. But apart from that, everything is goods and services. So taxable. Vinay, it says which is say supply of goods and no. That was schedule 2. My question was on schedule 3. Sankara is asking what if a person is dealing in real estate business or selling plot and houses. So if the turnover cross the threshold limit, they have to take registration. If they are supplying under construction, we know that certain properties are being sold under construction, then it is taxable in the GST. If they are supplying the completed house, completed plot, then no GST. Completed plot means only land building, only land, or they are supplying the completed flats, then it is out of GST. If they are supplying the under construction, it is chargeable to tax. Tanisha, transaction which can neither be absolutely correct. Prerna, absolutely correct. Absolutely Vanshika, Vinay, Mansa, Tanisha, perfect. When I hope it is clear, I have clarified that you are talking about schedule 2, but my question was on schedule 3. What is the schedule 3? Transaction or activity which is neither supply of goods nor supply of service. Okay. Rajiv, the transaction not the perfect. It means that neither goods nor services. Okay. And goods services for personal use also neither goods nor services. No. Services for personal use are also called? No, not at all. We'll discuss. Okay. Now we are, I hope all have received the answer. Now we are moving the definition of the supply. One thing that certain definition are starting with includes and certain definition are starting with the word means. Can anybody tell me the difference between these two terms? Certain definition are starting with the word means and a certain definition are starting with the word includes. Like I have explained the definition of goods, and goods, the definition of goods is starting with the word means. Services, it is starting with the word means. But the supply definition is starting with the word includes. What is the difference between these two terms? How you will look into these terms when you read any definition? One definition which is starting with the word means, it is very exhaustive. Very nice, very nice. And if it is starting with the word includes, it is inclusive definition. What is the basic meaning? Exhaustive is very limited in scope. But when the definition is starting with the word includes, it enlarges the scope. It means the taxability of the GST is supply. We all know that the GST ka taxable event is supply. And the supply definition is starting with the word includes. It means it is very wider in scope. It is not narrow. It is not exhaustive. It is wider in the meaning. Appreciated that many more can be included. Absolutely correct. Inclusive definition, further explanation. Very nice, beta. बहुत सही जवाब दिया आप लोगों ने. Thank you so much. Now when I say fine, the supply includes, it has clause A, clause double A, clause B, and clause C. Let's read clause A. Clause A say all forms of supply of the goods or services or both, such as, they have used the 8 illustrative word, 8 example. sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, or disposal. They have used 8 different type of the word. Whether it is limited to 8, no. They are using the 8 after such as. What is the meaning of such as? Let's say if someone is not understanding the word, then how you will explain? You will give certain example. Suppose you are providing the teaching to the student and the student not able to understand some term. So you will use some example right now. Then using the example, it means you will use the example to explain the term. In the same manner, this definition has used the word 8 different type of the word, but it is starting with the word such as. Such as means example, nothing more. They have used 8 different type of the example, but please note, none of the word has been defined in the GST. None of the word has been defined in the GST, and we have to borrow this meaning from Oxford Dictionary. General meaning we have to borrow whenever we need to understand the term. And for a consideration and in the course or furtherance of business. Now, they've used 2 conditions. Now, this 2 condition would always be looked into. One is business and one is consideration. It means the transaction should be for consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. We will discuss in detail what is the meaning of consideration, what is the example of consideration. We have in detail discussion. Same, we will have the discussion on the business. But prior to that, try to understand clause A talks about all forms of the supply, such as these 3 things. Definition is starting with the word includes. Clause A is starting with the word all. Using such as, these 3 terms giving the clear picture that the definition, scope of the supply is very wider in the nature. It is not narrow, it is not limited. However, the clause A says that there is 2 important conditions. One is consideration, second is business. That has to be there to treat any transaction as supply. It means if I am doing any personal transaction, let's say I have the scooter, I have the motor car, and I sold the motor car. Do I need to pay the GST? That is my personal motor car. Do I need to pay the GST? The prima facie answer would be no. Reason? Because the business element is missed. Let's take one more example. I am a chartered accountant. I am doing the filing of income tax return, doing the tax audit. It is my business. But let's say I have filed one ITR for one of my friend, and for him, I have not taken any charges. It is free of cost service. Do I need to pay the GST on this transaction? The prima facie answer would be no, because it is free transaction. There is no consideration. Please note, there is one exception for the consideration. There is one exception for the business also, which we will discuss in the subsequent clauses. But for the clause A, what we have understood, that the 2 important element has to be there. One is consideration and it should be in the course or furtherance of business. Supply definition is inclusive definition or exhaustive definition? Supply definition is inclusive definition or exhaustive definition? Give me the answer. The supply definition is inclusive definition or exhaustive definition? Give me the answer that supply ka definition is inclusive definition or exhaustive definition. Correct, correct. We will refer the General Clause Act, we will refer the Black Law Dictionary, we will refer the Oxford Dictionary. Normally General Clause Act will be referred if you will find the term. Otherwise, we will go to the dictionary meaning. So whenever we do not find any word in the GST, any term not defined in the GST, we used to refer these General Clause Act, and then Black Law Dictionary, and then Oxford Dictionary normally, or otherwise other statutes as well. Suppose sale. So I will go to the Sales of Goods Act. Fine. So now please do not do the mistake. It is inclusive definition and not the exhaustive definition. Still, I have received 2-3 reply by saying that exhaustive definition. Does letting out of the residential or commercial property, self-occupied house come in supply definition? The point number 1, it should be in the course or furtherance of my business. Point number 1. Okay. Point number 2, whether it is an exempt supply or taxable supply. For example, Krishna Tiwadi, I am giving you one example. Like there is an exemption notification which talks about serial number 12, which talks about if you give the residential property on, if you give the residential dwelling to unregistered person for the purpose of residence, if you give the residential dwelling to unregistered person for residential use, in that case, there is no tax at all. So first, consideration and business, 2 condition has to be satisfied. If it is satisfied, then the answer would be it is a supply. Now, it is a supply. Yes, it is a taxable supply or exempt supply. Like I have given the example, renting of the property, residential property given to registered person, taxable. Given to unregistered person for the purpose of residence, exempt in the GST. But yes, it will come in the definition. Okay. So rest all the participant has given the correct answer. Thank you so much. Now let's move further. We will move to the consideration. We will also move to the business. But before that, let me complete the section 7, subsection 1. So clause A is talking about all forms of the supply. It is talking about 8 different forms of the supply. Plus, they are imposing the 2 conditions that it should be business and it should be for consideration. Now, the clause B is talking about that import of service for consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. It means in the clause A, we have discussed that consideration and business has to be there to say that transaction is a supply. But what about the clause B? Clause B say business is not relevant. If it is an import of service and consideration is there, that's it. It will be treated as supply. It will be treated as supply. Sir, can you give me one example? Let's talk about one example. I am a student. I'm not a businessman. I'm not doing the business. I'm a student and doing the CA study. But I have the hobbies of the photography. So one of my friends suggested to purchase the domain, make the website. So I have visited the website, let's say godaddy.com. and purchase the website for my personal purpose. GoDaddy.com is located out of India and I am from India, correct? So this transaction is import of service. I will pay something. But even though it is in the course or furtherance of business or not, I will pay the GST on this transaction, or rather I should say the government will collect the GST on this transaction. Who will pay the tax? Will the supplier GoDaddy will take the registration, or the recipient will take registration and pay the tax? That is altogether different topic of the reverse charge mechanism. But the point is, we are talking about the supply chapter and this import of service with consideration, or rather any import of service with consideration, irrespective of the fact whether it is in the course or furtherance of business or not, it will always be supply. Now, supply can be taxable or can be exempted. If it is taxable, might be it is taxable in the hand of the supplier, forward charge. Might be the liability to pay the tax is in the hand of recipient, that is reverse charge. All three possibilities are there. What we are discussing, we are only discussing whether any transaction is a supply or not. If it is a supply, it can be the exempt supply or it can be taxable supply. If it is a taxable supply, either supplier will pay the tax as a forward charge or might be the recipient will pay the tax as reverse charge. All possibility would come, but that we will discuss in the respective chapter, levy and collection of tax. That topic will be covered in the exemption. But right now we are very limited scope, that is whether my transaction is a supply or not. Third case. Now see, the consideration is not relevant if the transaction or activity is specified in the schedule 1. If the transactions or activity specified in the schedule 1, whether or not it is with consideration or without consideration, it is irrelevant. It will always be supply. It will always be supply. Transaction is specified in the schedule 1 is the exception of consideration. Clause B is the exception of business nature. Now, this new clause has been inserted by the Finance Act. What is that clause? It says that activity or the transaction by a person other than individual to its member or constituent or vice versa for cash, for deferred payment or any other valuable consideration. They are saying if any person other than individual, so the group of the person, any association, any club making the supply to the member or vice versa, it will always be the supply. Please note one thing, it was inserted later on, but retrospectively inserted. Why it has been retrospectively inserted? Why there is a need of so much backdated provision, taxability provision? The reason was one Supreme Court judgment in case of the Calcutta Club that was of service tax regime, but they are saying that club and its member cannot be the two separate person. Try listen carefully. Club and member cannot be two separate person, and therefore the transaction between them cannot be leviable to service tax. After that judgment, probably GST government is thinking that these transactions would not be taxable in the GST, and therefore they have inserted the clause AA, retrospectively giving the effect. And see the explanation. See the explanation. For the purpose of this clause, It is hereby clarified, notwithstanding anything contained. What is the meaning of notwithstanding anything contained? Overriding effect. Overriding to whom? Read, notwithstanding anything contained in any other law for the time being in force, any judgment, decree, order of court, tribunal, or authority, the person and its member shall be deemed to be two separate persons. See, they are saying member and association will be considered as two separate person. And why they are saying so harsh language, so strong language? Why they are giving the overriding effect? They know the judgment of Calcutta Club by Apex Court, that club and the member cannot be the two separate person. And if you are not two separate person, transaction between you can't be taxable. Perfect. So I hope it is clear. So now we have completed the definition of supply. Let me once again revise. Let me stop the screen and ask some question so that I would be clear that you do not have any doubt. Correct? So please tell me, very simple. Okay, got it now. Take it. Thank you. Now tell me, what is the two important element for any transaction to be treated as a supply? What are the two important elements in a transaction to consider them as a supply? What are the two important elements in a transaction to consider them as a supply? Give me the answer. So I would be able to understand that whatever we have discussed in first 1 hour, it is clear to all. We are revising the section 7, subsection 1, and then we will start the further. Two important condition for supply. Absolutely correct. It should be business and it should be with consideration. Absolutely correct. Now you tell me one exception of consideration. When we will not look into the consideration, हम consideration कब ignore करेंगे? मतलब even if there is no consideration, but the transaction would always be supply. Please tell me when we will ignore the consideration. When we will ignore the consideration. It means whether it is a free transaction, but it is considered, it is treated as supply. It is treated as supply. What is the exception? Answer is, what is my question? My question is that please tell me the exception of consideration. Or in other word, I can say, we have discussed in the clause A that consideration in business has to be there. Now you all tell me what is the exception of consideration. The answer is schedule 1. List of the activity is specified in schedule 1, whether or not there is a consideration. If it is in the course or furtherance of business, that's it. It will be treated as supply, even it is a free transaction. Even if it is without consideration, but it is supply. Okay. What is the exception of business? So, in which case we will not consider or we will ignore the business element. In which case we will ignore the business element. हम कब बिजनेस एलिमेंट को इग्नोर करें? द आंसर इज ट्रांजेक्शन, नहीं नहीं नहीं, बार्टर एक्सचेंज. आंसर इज import of service with consideration. Please note one thing. One element is missed, but other element has to be there. It means in the schedule one, consideration is ignored, but transaction has to be in the course or furtherance of business. In import of service, we are ignoring the business element. Then consideration has to be there. There is no exception where both element are not there. Then also the transaction will be considered as supply. No. It means either both has to be there. If both is not there, at least one element has to be there, either consideration or business. Because if consideration and business both are missing, there cannot be any exception of supply. Absolutely correct. If import of service with consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, it will be treated as supply. Please tell me which provision has been inserted later on but having retrospectively impacted. Having the retrospectively effect. Which clause has been inserted later on but giving the retrospectively effect? Answer is transaction between club and member. 7188. Any association. It can be club, it can be any other association other than individual member. And what is the overriding effect? Notwithstanding anything contained in any order, in any decree, the member and its constituent will be considered as two separate persons. What we have discussed? We have discussed that the person and its member will be deemed to be the two separate persons. Correct? Now, in this chapter, we have the total two classes. Correct? So, in this two class, we will going to discuss three schedules. Schedule 1, we have already discussed heading. In detail, we are going to discuss either today or in the next class. What is the schedule 1? Supply even without consideration. What is the schedule 2? Supply of the goods or services. And what is the schedule 3? Negative list or no supply. I have written the corresponding section number just for ease of reference. So these three schedules we are going to discuss in detail. Now let's move to the definition of consideration. So the consideration definition says that it include payment made in money or otherwise. It means non-monetary is also the consideration. Non-monetary is also the consideration. Let's say I am providing the teaching to my student and a student is having the, let's say, factory of any manufacturing unit of mobile. And instead of paying the fees to me in cash, they are giving one mobile to me. It is a barter transaction. Whether I have received the consideration, answer is yes. Because consideration definition says that non-monetary is also the consideration. Non-monetary is also considered or also treated as consideration. Payment made by the recipient or any other person. So let's say I am providing the teaching to you, but let's say your parents has given the fees to me. Your institute has given the fees to me. It means I am providing the service to the recipient, but amount has been paid by any other person or recipient or any other person. Sometimes we know that payment is made by any other person on behalf of the recipient. Please note, security deposit is not consideration. Security deposit is not consideration. But if the security deposit applied for consideration, what is the meaning? I'm explaining with the example. I have taken one property on rent for my office purpose. As per the agreement, I have to pay 2 months security deposit, 1 month rent. So when I have entered into the contract, I have paid 3 month equivalent rent. But 2 months is the security deposit and 1 month is rent. So supplier, landlord will pay the GST only on 1 month. He will not pay the GST on security deposit. Let's say the contract is for 11 months. On 9-month completion, I told that, friend, I will not continue the office. I will vacate your office and also requesting, please adjust the security deposit of 2 months now with the balance period. Now I am saying the advance, the security which I have given to you of 2 months, kindly adjust against the rent of 10th month and 11th month. Now what is doing? He is adjusting the security deposit. He is applying the security deposit against rent. It means on 10th month, on 11th month, I have not paid anything to the landlord, but still because he is adjusting the security, he will pay the GST if applicable. However, if sometimes subsidy is being given by the government, let's say there's a recent judgment that if I will use the let's say Bhim UPI debit card, okay, or Rupee credit card, Rupee debit card, Rupee credit card, or if I will use the Bhim UPI app, if I will make the payment, then acquiring bank, okay, bank will get certain amount from Ministry of Information Technology because they like to promote the Rupee card. So one is acquiring bank. If they are getting the money from ministry, what is that? They have explained it is subsidy in the nature, and the person and the bank who is receiving that subsidy not required to pay the GST. Why not required to pay the GST? Because consideration not include the subsidy given by the government. Sometime, let's say Airtel has installed one tower in the rural area. Now in the rural area, if they are installing the tower, certain subsidy given by the Department of Telecommunication. They have given, let's say, 5 crore for installation of one tower. Airtel is getting the money from government, but will they pay the GST on the 5 crore? No. Why? Because it is subsidy in the nature. So subsidy will not be treated as consideration, and because it is not consideration, no question of tax liability will arise. I hope it is clear. Now read the bare language of the particular definition of consideration. Consideration in relation to supply of goods or services includes any payment made or otherwise in relation to, in respect of, in response of, or for the inducement of the supply of the goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by the government. Clause B says the monetary value of any act, forbearance in respect of, in response of, or inducement of supply, whether by the recipient or any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by the government. Proviso says that the deposit given in respect of supply of the goods or services shall not be considered as payment made for such supply unless, what is unless? The supplier applies such deposit as consideration for the said supply. I hope it is clear. Now, any question? Please let me know if you have any question. Or please confirm if it is clear. Kindly give me the confirmation if it is clear. We will discuss 3 more situations for the consideration. And as you know, most of the participants might be knowing, but at the end of the class, last 10 minutes will be kept for revising the entire chapter in quick round of the question. 5 round of the question. I will ask the question and will wait for your reply. So by that, you can assess yourself that how much your level with the today class, how much you have exhausted, how much you have understood the provision of the today chapter. So in the last 10-15 minutes, we will have the multiple round of the question answer by which you will get the clarity of your understanding level. So my request would be to every student, please ensure active participation in the last 10-15 minutes. Okay. Clear now? Fine. Great. Thank you so much. Now we will understand these 3 example, I can say, or these 3 terminology: donation received by the charitable institute, artwork, and no claim bonus with respect to the consideration. And then we'll take the break of 15 minutes. The first, Ashok ji, we will take the break of 15 minutes at 7:20. ठीक है, 7:20 पर लगभग हम लोग ब्रेक लेंगे. ठीक है. The consideration, first example, the donation received by the charitable institute from individual donor without quid pro quo. What is the meaning of quid pro quo? For something in response or in exchange of something. So let's say I'm providing the teaching and you are providing the consideration to me. So it is quid pro quo. So in exchange of something, it says that donation received by charitable institution from individual donor without quid pro quo. It means, let's say I have given the donation of, let's say, 10 lakh rupees to one institute. And in response of my donation, I'm not getting anything. I'm not expecting that they will promote my name, that they will promote my business. Nothing. Nothing. I'm individual donor and my business name, etc. Nothing being promoted. In that case, it is saying that it is without quid pro quo. So it is not consideration. So this transaction will not be taxable. Sometime they will only use my name. They will only give my name without being disclosing my business entity, without being disclosing my business nature. Again, it is only the gratitude that they are giving, but otherwise it is not considered as supply at all. Let's read the context. When the name of the donor is displayed in the recipient institution premises in such a manner which can be said to be expression of gratitude and public recognition of the donors, and is not aimed at giving publicity to the donor in such manner, it would be in such manner that it would be an advertising or promotion of business. So they are not aiming the promoting the name of the business. They are not aiming to the providing the advertisement. In that case, it can be said that there is no supply because it is no with reciprocal agreement. Reciprocal agreement means I am giving something, in exchange of that you are giving something. Because what is the contract? Contract means one party will give to the another party and another party will give to the first party. That is the supply, right? Because if I'm providing the supply, so you are providing the consideration to me. That is supply. But if it is without quid pro quo, in that case, it is not the supply, not taxable in the GST. In other words, there is no obligation on part of the recipient of the donation or gift to do anything. Therefore, there is no GST liability on such payment. No tax liability. Thus, GST is not leviable. Gift or donation is made to the charitable organization. Payment has the characteristic of the gift or donation, and purpose is no commercial gain. Philanthropic, no commercial gain, and it is not the advertisement. In that case, it can be said that it is not a supply and therefore not chargeable to GST. Second example, artwork sent by the artist to the galleries for exhibition is not the supply, as no consideration flow from the gallery to the artist. So artist is giving the artwork to the gallery for the exhibition, but for that they are not giving anything back to the artist. In that case, again, it is not the supply. Always remember, one party giving to another, then recipient should also give the money consideration, non-monetary consideration should flow from the recipient to the supplier. Otherwise, it is not taxable. This is given in the circular. Artist giving their work to the art, giving their work of art to the galleries where it has been displayed. However, no consideration is flowing from the galleries to the artist, and therefore it is not a supply. It is only when a buyer select a particular artwork displayed at the gallery, then the actual supply take place. It means someone who is seeing that particular artwork and he is purchasing from me, then it is a supply. Till that time, there is no supply. GST would be payable only when someone will purchase my actual artwork. Then the supply will be undertaken, and before that, only display, there is no supply, because no consideration is flowing back from the galleries to the artist. It is also a very good example. They have clarified in the circular 186 recently, December 22. What is that no claim bonus? What is the no claim bonus? So suppose Mr. A has insurance policies and he has not claimed any claim in the last 4 year, 5 year, let's say. So there is some discount, there is some less amount charged by the insurance company in the next premium. So what is that? So they are saying that no claim bonus, we will deduct rupees 1,000. Let's say the total premium is 20,000. They are deducting 1,000 rupees on account of the no claim bonus. Now the question is whether GST would be payable on no claim bonus or not. That is the question. Issue which arose for the consideration whether the deduction on account of the no claim bonus allowed by insurance from the premium can be considered as consideration for the supply provided by the insured to the insurance company for agreeing to the obligation to refrain. So you will have to understand this term in very detailed manner. I will explain either today or in the next class. Circular 178, multiple ambit of the circular 128, and you will understand this term, that mere flow of money will not be the supply. Money would always supply, not necessary. Multiple example I will discuss in this particular schedule 2, para 5, clause E, with the help of circular 178. You will understand this term, but yes, circular 186 has picked one example, no claim bonus. It is very interesting. You tell me one thing. If it is a no claim bonus, and assume for the timing it is a supply, tell me who is a supplier. Tell me who is a supplier, Mr. A or insurance company. Okay. 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 So Vinay is asking what is no claim bonus. Let me explain once again. What is no claim bonus? मैं आपको explain कर देता हूँ. See, Mr. A has taken the insurance from, let's say, National Insurance Company. Medically. I'm taking one example. It can be anything. Every year the premium is 20,000. So for insurance policy, National Insurance Company is a supplier and Mr. A is the recipient, because he will pay rupees 20,000 to the insurance company and insurance company will insure the life or medical expenditure up to certain amount. Now, as per the contract, that if there is no claim has been taken by Mr. A, no claim means no medical expenditure reimbursement has been claimed by Mr. A from insurance company. Every year he is paying rupees 20,000 to the insurance company, but he is not taking any claim because there is no expenses incurred by Mr. A. As per the agreement, on 5th year, there will be the discount of, let's say, 1,000 rupees. Mr. A, when he will pay the premium of 20,000 on 5th year, there would be the deduction of rupees 1,000 and actually he has to pay 19,000 to the insurance company, National Insurance. This 1,000 would be called as a no claim bonus. I can treat in this way also, that A has paid rupees, I can consider in this way also, na, A has paid to insurance company rupees 20,000 on 5th year and insurance has paid back rupees 1,000 as no claim bonus. It can also be treated in this manner also. Now, in case of no claim bonus, who will be the supplier? This time Mr. A become the supplier because he is getting the 1,000 rupees. And who is the recipient? National Insurance Company. So the question was, can we say that it is a supply by Mr. A to National Insurance for which there is 1,000 rupees given by insurance company to Mr. A? Either A will receive the 1,000 and he will pay 20,000, or netting of the transaction, A is making the payment of 19,000. This has clarified by Circular 186. For 1,000, there is no supply by Mr. A. For getting 1,000, there is no supply by Mr. A. Understand very minutely. For getting rupees 1,000, Mr. A is not saying, I will not take any claim for the next 4 years. No, there is no promise. There is no supply at all by Mr. A. Therefore, this no claim insurance will never be considered as consideration for any supply. 1,000 no claim bonus will never be considered as supply, and as a result, it is not taxable. Whether no claim bonus allowed by the insurance can be considered as consideration for supply by Mr. A to the National Insurance. Answer is no. It is not a supply provided by the insured to the insurance in forms of agreeing to any obligation, refrain from an act or to tolerate an act, and therefore it cannot be considered as supply. I hope it is clear. एक बार confirm करें, and then once you confirm, then we will start the break of 15 minutes and we'll start the definition, business definition. Okay, we'll do the multiple example in this term also, in this business definition also. But meanwhile, if you have any question, please confirm. Is it clear to all? Is it clear to all? Very nice example of this no claim bonus. In all these three, we have discussed the respective circular 186 or 22. And this 186 is very new, so it is very important for the exam point of view. I hope it is clear. If you have any question, we will discuss after the break. So, Ashok ji, Let me take the two query has been raised. First query, that if insurance company take last premium as 19,000, then they will charge the GST on 19,000. Correct? But one counter question also being asked, sir, a doubt in the last example whether the insurance company will charge the GST on 20 or 19. So now, for that, I just like to take one example or one cross reference of the valuation chapter. When you will read the valuation chapter section 15 subsection 3. So what is the treatment of the discount? So 15 subsection 3, in that there is a clause A. It says that if discount has been given at the time of supply itself, recorded on the invoice, in that case, the GST would be payable on net amount. In this example, the gross premium is 20,000 minus 1,000 on account of the no claim bonus. So 19,000 the insurance company charging from Mr. A. So the GST would be charged on 19,000. This 1,000 would be considered as a discount given at the time of supply and in accordance with clause A of section 15 subsection 3, and therefore the tax would be leviable on net amount. I hope it is clear. Confirm. Now let's move to the definition of the business. So section 2 clause 17, the business ka definition has been defined. Any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager. Wager means bet. Or any other similar activity, whether or not for a pecuniary benefit. It means benefit is not necessary. Whether you are getting the benefit or not, is it for the intention of the profit or not, that is not necessary. But if you are doing the trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, or even vocation, adventure, wager, that is also the business. Clause B, any activity incidental or ancillary to the subclause A. Very, very important. It means you are doing the business of, let's say, cement manufacturing company, but any other activity which is incidental or ancillary to main clause, then that ancillary activity will also be considered as your business. Let's say, for the purpose of business, you have purchased a computer, you purchased the office furniture. We will treat that activity is in relation to business only. Sir, purchase or sale of furniture is not your business. Purchase or sale of computer is not your business. Your business is cement manufacturing company. But suppose you are purchasing the furniture, you are purchasing the computer, you are disposing of the furniture, old motor vehicle, that would also be considered business because it is in relation, ancillary or incidental to your main business. Again, it is immaterial. What is the volume, frequency, continuity, even single transaction can also be considered as business. Next clause says that even supply or acquisition, okay, commencement of business or even closure of the business. Mr. A, who is doing the business, he has closed the business. After the closure, whatever the goods is there, he has been sold that goods. Will the GST be leviable on that supply of the goods because of the closure of the business? Answer is yes, because commencement or closure is considered as business only. Provision by a club, association, society, or any body of the facility or the benefit to its member is a business. It was earlier there, but still they feel after that judgment of Calcutta Club, there is a possibility to avoid the GST. So they have inserted in the supply definition from the retrospective effect. Admission to any premises. Suppose you are going to any historical premise, any premises, entry to any premises, it will also be the business and it will be taxable. Service supplied by the person as a holder of an office, which he has accepted in the course or furtherance of his trade, profession, or vocation. Let's say I am your statutory auditor. I am statutory auditor of XYZ Limited. Perfect. And then that company has given me the additional charge of member of their audit committee. So they have formed that audit committee, internal team. Now they've given me the additional charge of holding that office, and for which they are paying rupees, let's say 1 lakh rupees to me additionally per month. Now this, because of holding the office, which is in the course or furtherance of my trade, profession or vocation, because I'm the statutory auditor, audit function is my business, my profession, my vocation. So if it is my business, profession, vocation, in relation to that, if I'm accepting any additional office, that will also be considered as my business. So the holding the audit committee, keeping the or appointing me as a member for which they are paying, that will also be treated as business. Activity of the race club, including by way of totalizer or licensed bookmaker or activity in that club, that will also be considered as business. Any activity or transaction undertaken by the government in which they are engaged as a public authority. Now, please interlink. We will do the interlinking with section 7, subsection 2, clause B, along with one notification. Okay. So the activity in which they are engaged as a public authority, we will do the interlinking with the 7(2)B in some time. Now, just quickly tell me what is the schedule 1. Just quickly tell me what is the schedule 1. Then we will read all the paras of the schedule 1. एक बार मुझे कंफर्म करें, schedule 1 क्या है? Prerna Kochar, I think you have, I think, is there any query? What is the schedule 1? We know that there are total 4 transactions of the schedule 1, which we will discuss. And schedule 1 is considered as supply even without consideration. We can also say it is a deemed supply. We can also say it is a deemed supply. What is the schedule 1? Schedule 1 is the deemed supply. So in the schedule 1, we will discuss 4 transactions. Even there is no consideration, but if that transaction is happening, it means it will be treated as a supply. I hope it is clear. Not in the course or furtherance of business. Nahi. It is without consideration. Supply in the course or furtherance of business, but it is without consideration. The first para says permanent, underline. It is not temporary, it is permanent. Then business asset. It is not fixed asset. It is not current asset. It is saying any business asset, whether it is fixed asset or whether it is current asset or whether it is investment, whether it is inventory, doesn't matter. If you transfer the business asset permanently where ITC has been availed on that asset, what is the important condition? ITC has been availed on that asset. In that case, even if it is free transaction, it will be treated as supply. I am giving the 2 examples. The first example, I have purchased the computer. At the time of the purchase, I have taken the ITC. Now, after 1 year, I have given free of cost to the NGO permanently. In that case, this free transaction would also be treated as supply, even though I am not getting any amount. Why? Because at the time of purchase of that asset, I have taken the input tax credit. Second example, I have purchased the car for my director up to 13 seaters. I know that when you read the ITC chapter in the 17 subsection 5, it is under the block category. So I can say when I purchase the motor vehicle, I cannot take the ITC. Even though I am permanently transferring, this is my business asset, But because I have not taken the ITC, so it is not chargeable to GST. No GST. Why? Because ITC has not been taken on that asset. Is it clear? Now, sometime what happen, uh, let me explain first para 2 and then we will do the interlinking of para 1 and para 2. Para 2 of the schedule 1 says that supply of goods or services between related person, between distinct person. What is the meaning of distinct person? You all know. Please give me the quick answer. What is the meaning of distinct person? What is the meaning of related person? It has been defined. What is the meaning of related person? The related person means partner, director, employer-employee, any controlling right, member of the same family, officer. These are considered as related person. The meaning of related person has been explained in the explanation. Officer, director, partner, employer and employee, very, very important. Or controlling or having the voting right, 25% or more, or one of them directly or indirectly control the other, or member of the same family. So these are considered as related. But what is the distinct person? You all have to give the answer. Please give me the answer to the distinct person. What is the meaning of distinct person? What is the meaning of distinct person? Separate registration, but permanent account number is 1. So one PAN, multiple GSTIN. So that multiple registration can be within the state or can be from one state to the another state also. If someone has the one PAN number, but obtain the registration in the multiple state or within the state, in that case, these GST number to each other would be called as distinct person. Okay? What is the meaning? If you supply the goods or services between a related or between distinct, even without consideration, it is chargeable to GST. Prerna Kochar, are you saying something? Now the proviso says that gift not exceeding 50,000. Gift not exceeding 50,000 in a financial year, one financial year, by an employer, one employer, to an employee means one employee, shall not be treated as supply of the goods or services or both. Quickly answer. If one employee received the gift from two employers, each of the employer is giving the gift of 30,000. Mr. A is an employee of two companies. One company has given 30,000, another company has given 30,000. Will this 60,000, total gift 60,000, will be taxable or not taxable in the GST? Mr. A is getting the 30,000 gift from company A, 30,000 gift from company B. The total gift is 60,000. Will it be taxable in the GST or not? The answer would be not taxable because they are saying one employer to one employee. Here, Mr. A is getting from two employer. So we have to see each employer, if exceed 50, then taxable. Correct? Now, suppose first gift is 40,000, second gift is 20,000. First, Mr. A is getting getting rupees 60,000 का gift from one employer only. But first gift 40,000, second gift 20,000. Will it be taxable? Entire 60 would be taxable, or 40 plus 60 minus 50, 10 would be taxable. Second gift 20 would be taxable, or nothing is taxable. First example, we have discussed 30 plus 30 because it is from two different employers, not taxable. Each employer limit has to be checked. The 50,000 limit is for each employer, not the total gift. Second example I have given, sir. Second example I have given that from first occasion, on first occasion, A received from the company rupees 40,000 ka gift. On second occasion, from the same company in the same financial year, they received 20,000 ka gift. My question is, entire 60 would be taxable. 40 plus 20, 60 minus 50, 10 would be taxable. Nothing would be taxable, or only 20 would be taxable. All are correct. Entire 60,000 would be taxable because the proviso says if gift not exceed 50 in a financial year by an employer to an employee. So in this case, in one financial year, the total gift ka value is 60, which is more than 50. So entire would be taxable. Okay. Coming further example. So company A is registered in, let's say, the state of Rajasthan at Jaipur location. Company A is also registered in Haryana location. Now they have transferred certain stock from Jaipur to Gurgaon. Because the permanent account number are same, the PAN number is same, GST number is different, so it is called as distinct person. Any supply of the goods or services, please note one thing, para 1 is covering the goods, para 2 is covering the goods as well as services. Para 2 is covering the goods as well as services. So, transfer of stock from Jaipur to Gurgaon, one PAN, multiple GST, it is a supply. The tax invoice will be raised by the Rajasthan GST number to the Haryana GST number. Another example, suppose in Rajasthan, they have the two GST number, one for Jaipur and one for, let's say, Udaipur. If they transfer the stock from Jaipur to Udaipur, it is taxable. GST invoice will be raised by Jaipur. On Udaipur, Udaipur will take the input tax credit. Third example, Rajasthan has only one GST number, but they have the two locations. One is Jaipur and one is Udaipur. Both location has been shown as place of business in that GST number. Both location, Jaipur and Udaipur, has been shown as one is principal place and another is additional place. Now, if the GST number is same and they are transferring the stock, then it is not taxable. Why? Because they are using the word distinct person. They are using the word distinct person. In this case, they are not the distinct person. Why they are not the distinct person? Sir, GST number is same. For distinct person, they have two GST number under one PAN. Then only they will be called as a distinct person. In this case, it is not the distinct person. Therefore, the transaction, transfer of the stock from one place to the additional place in the same GST number cannot be taxable. I hope it is clear. Quickly confirm. There are 2-3 questions on this particular point. I hope it is clear. Please confirm. Ramakrishna ji. Ramakrishnan. No, H. Ramakrishnan H. Mr. Ramakrishnan H. Please confirm. I hope it is clear. ठीक है ना. Now in Jaipur to Udaipur example, last example, when GST is not applicable, what document can they use? Delivery challan. Delivery challan. DC rule 55 delivery challan. Whenever there is a movement of the goods and that movement is not the supply, always use delivery challan in the GST. That is the rule 55 says that if it is a movement of the goods but it is not the supply, then no problem. Use the delivery challan. Now the next point says, so schedule 1, para 1 and para 2 both are clear. Now let me ask one or two important questions to all of you. Supply of car. I have purchased a car for my director. I have not taken the ITC. That car is being sold in the scrap to Kabadi wala. Let's say I'm changing the example. I'm not using the word car because there is some problem. Let's say I have purchased a computer on which I have not taken the ITC. That computer I have given to the scrap dealer in rupees 2000. Written down value of that computer is 5000. Do I need to pay the GST on 2000? Please note, I have not taken the ITC on the computer. It is permanently transferred. Do I need to pay the GST? I can bet most of the participants will give the incorrect answer. I can guarantee that most of the participants will give the incorrect answer. Please give the answer along with reasoning. Otherwise, I will not be able to evaluate whether you have given the right or wrong answer. Mr. or let's say Masters XYZ Limited has purchased the computer. At the time of purchase, they have not taken the ITC because of any reason. Now that computer has been sold in rupees 2000 to the scrap dealer and that sale is below WDV. My question is whether they need to pay the tax or not. Give me the reason also. Let me write the possible options. Option A, no GST as it is below WDV. Option B, no GST as no ITC was taken. Option C, GST applicable. Now, give me the answer in A, B, or C. Try to give me the answer in A, B, or C. Try to give the answer A, B, or C. Then I will evaluate and then we'll explain where the mistake was happening in this example. Now it is very easy for you. You have to choose any one option, A, B, or C, because it might take some time to type your reasoning. So I have given the reasoning itself. There are three options, A, B, or C. There is something wrong, I feel. Kindly tell me what is the wrong. If you feel, Vinay, ki there is some wrong, then tell me what is the wrong. Please select the right answer A, B, or C. Please select the right answer A, B, or C. Okay, you are saying for your answer. Okay, ठीक है. I thought कि I have explained something wrong. Is it? मैंने सोचा मैंने कुछ गलत पढ़ा दिया आपको. कोई दिक्कत नहीं यार. गलती इंसानों से होती है. ठीक है. So, what is the right answer? The right answer is C. Right answer is C. Now you say, sir, why C? You all have confused with this word. You all have confused with this word. No ITC. Can you please tell me where you discuss that if ITC not taken, then no GST? Your answer will be schedule 1. You will say the schedule 1. What is the schedule 1? Activity will be considered as supply even without consideration. Even without consideration. Whether there is consideration. Whether there is consideration in this example. Yes. Why you go to the schedule 1? If there is a consideration, why you go to the schedule 1? If there is a consideration, why you go to the schedule 1? You will not go to the schedule 1. So, if no ITC, no GST, it is written in schedule 1. Otherwise, if you make the sale at consideration, you have to pay the GST, whether you have taken the ITC or not taken the ITC. Is it clear? Quickly confirm that right answer is C. Quickly confirm that reasoning is clear to all. Is it clear to all? Kindly confirm. Now another question. Another question. Company has purchased the car. No ITC has been taken at the time of purchase. It has been given to employee in free of cost. WDV, again, you will not use the word car. Let's say computer. Why I am saying car is problem? Because when we will discuss the valuation chapter from me or from any other learned faculty, you will see that there is one notification on 25th Jan 2018. So that is the reason I'm not using the word car. Computer, the WDV of the computer was 5,000. I have given the computer to my employee, and this time free of cost. And I have not taken the ITC. Please note, this time free of cost, but I have taken no ITC. Free of cost, schedule 1. GST is leviable or not leviable? Yes or no? That's it. GST is leviable or not leviable? Just say yes or no. Now, no, it is permanently transferred. It is permanently transferred to my employee. No ITC, no consideration. Tell me, no GST or yes GST? Let's say value. Okay, fine. Let me change one thing. One has raised another very good point. Let's say value is 75,000. WDV is 75,000. If the WDV is 75,000, let's say someone has raised a 50,000 wala point, absolutely have some reasoning, have some logical reasoning. So I have changed the value. कृष्णा तिवारी जी, कृष्णन तिवारी, मिस्टर कृष्णन तिवारी, कैसे हो? It is not in the course of business. Why it is not in the course of business? Computer was my asset. Computer was my business asset. So everything which is my business asset, if I am supplying, so leviable or not leviable, that is different thing. But you cannot say it is not a business. I told you that clause B of section 2, subsection 17, ancillary or incidental to main business would also be treated as business. Whether it is leviable or not leviable. Oh, Vinay, approved, not approved, irrelevant from the GST perspective. बढ़िया 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 कृष्णा. Not leviable, not leviable, not leviable, not leviable, leviable. Oh my god. The right answer is the right answer is leviable. In this example, what is the mistake? I have picked two clauses. I have given the example of the combination of clause A and the clause B. You all have given the answer not leviable because of clause A. But my question was on clause B. What is not clear? Let me explain you. Use the word no ITC. Where it is written, you will say clause A. If no ITC, then no GST. It is written in the clause A, right? Free of cost, then it is confirmation that I am taking the example of schedule 1. Perfect. But you have ignored the person to whom I am giving the computer. Who is the recipient? It is the related person. In case the goods or services has been supplied to the related party, it will goes to the clause B, and in the clause B, there is no condition ITC taken or not taken. In the clause B, there is no condition ki ITC taken or not taken in every case. If you have given the if you have given to your related party, it will always taxable only employer-employee. There is a clause of 50,000, and that is the reason I have made the changes in the value. So the answer would be yes, it is leviable. Kindly confirm, is it clear or not? These two example on the two clauses. Is it clear or not clear? एक बार quickly confirm करो. एक मिनट दीजिएगा. गिव मी ओनली 1 मिनट. अशोक जी, 1 मिनट के लिए खाली ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिएगा. हाँ हाँ. Is it clear or not clear? So that is the altogether different question. canteen food provided to the employee. There are various different judgments. So we canteen food provided to the employee for the full year, the value exceeds 50. How can they charge GST on this? So my example was something different. Canteen food itself, is it taxable or not taxable? That is altogether different question. But if I talk about the value is 50,000, more than 50,000 in a year, it would be taxable in the GST. Now, it's a separate litigation point. If I'm doing the recovery of canteen, if I'm doing the recovery of, let's say, some insurance premium, can it be considered that I become supplier of canteen service? I become the supplier of insurance company. So that is altogether litigation point. ठीक है ना? कि just it cannot be convert into the supplier and it will be taxable. That is altogether different point, which we will not do the discussion. But for this example, I hope it is quite clear to all. Now let me move to the para number 3. So para number 3 says, what is the gift? Gift has not been defined in the GST. So only we can say the gift is the voluntarily in the nature and it is occasionally and cannot be considered as a matter of right. So that has been used in the press release. Schedule 1. What is the Schedule 1? We all know. Correct. Now I'm talking about Schedule 1 para 3. Supply of goods by a principal to his agent, where the agent undertake to the supply of the goods on behalf of the principal, or by agent to the principal, where the agent undertake to receive the goods on behalf of the principal. In the pre-GST regime, the transaction between principal and agent, there would some forms was there. And GST has almost abolished the concept of these forms. So they are saying one will pay the tax and another party will take the input tax credit. That's it. To impact the value. So because it is not a sale, so unnecessary the working capital would be blocked. So to avoid that, so on these transactions, a specific rule has been made in the valuation chapter. Rule 29 on the principal and agent. Rule 28 for related party or distinct party. Correct. Para 2. So in the last para 2, we have discussed related party or distinct person. Correct. So for that, there is a rule 28, valuation rule. So you might ask, sir, on which value the GST would be paid, because it is a free of cost transaction. So there is a separate valuation rules. Rule 28 is for the related party and distinct party. Rule 29 is for the principal and agent transaction. Okay. But only point which I like to say, that if the principal make the supply the goods to the agent, or agent supply the goods on behalf of the principal, then it will be the supply and GST need to be paid on that. There is multiple circular in this particular principal agent transaction, but most important thing I like to communicate, sometime let's say A is a principal and B is the agent of principal. C is a customer. Now, B issue the tax invoice for supplying the goods. B has the goods of principal and B is supplying the goods to C. There may be the two situations. When B issue the tax invoice, he issue the tax invoice in the name of principal only. There are two situations going on. If he issue the invoice in the name of principal, if he issue the invoice in his own name, then if he is issuing the invoice in the name of the principal, then it will not fall in the para 3. So these circular we will discuss in detail in the next class. Just wait for that circular. We will cover that circular also. Today, only try to understand that if principal supplying the goods to the agent or the agent supplying the goods on behalf of the principal, receiving the goods on behalf of the principal, then it will be treated as supply covered in para 3, and even without consideration, it would be taxable in the GST. Para 4, last para of the schedule 1, which says that import of service by a person from a related person or from any of his other establishment outside India in the course or furtherance of business, it will be the supply. Now, if you read once again, it is talking about import of service. Who is a supplier? Either related or any of his other establishment outside India. And it should be in the course of furtherance of business. You remember that we have also discussed import of service, one exception of the business, right? So, import of service, I am categorizing in these 3 categories. Suppose if consideration is there and business is there, will it be supply? Answer would be yes, it will always be supply. I'm saying consideration is there, but business is not there. Will it be supply? You will say, sir, section 7, subsection 1, clause B, we have discussed that whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, import of service with the consideration will always be supply. Correct? Now, third situation, consideration nahi hai, per business hai. There is no consideration. Will it be a supply? You have to refer the schedule 1. What it says, if the supplier is related or company ka other establishment, then it is a supply, otherwise no supply. Last condition, suppose there is no consideration and there is no business. It cannot be the supply. What I told you, that one can be under exception category. So there are 2 important pillars for supply, consideration and business. But if both are missing, there is no exception. If both are missing, it cannot be exception. So the answer is, if both are not there, it cannot be the supply at all. Now the next point. So we will do the discussion 15 more minutes and then we will move to the quick round of the question answer, which is more important. Okay. Now we are moving to the schedule 2. What is the schedule 2? Schedule 2 is deciding whether transaction which is a supply, is it a supply of the goods or supply of the service? It only give the nomenclature. It give only the coloring to the transaction, whether it is a goods or service. Can schedule 2 decide supply? No. Can schedule 2 decide supply? Answer is big no. Schedule 2 is only deciding whether my transaction is a supply of goods or supply of service. That's it. Para 1, transfer. If you schedule 2, any question? Let me see the question. How the consideration will be valued? Pavitra ji, I told you na that there is a separate valuation rule is made for related and distinct person. There is a rule 28. Clause A says that open market value. Clause B says that if open market value is not available, then like, kind and quality. Then clause C says that if not available, then rule 30, then rule 31. So there are multiple points which you going to discuss in the valuation rule. Vinay, will we learn all those valuation rule you are talking about in the valuation chapter? Answer would be yes. You are going to discuss. Yeah, you are going to read. ठीक है, अभी तक सब ठीक चल रहा है ना? आपको लास्ट 15 मिनट वेट करना है मेरा, क्योंकि इफ यू विल गिव द आंसर In the last 15 minutes, you might be aware about the process of teaching. You might be, because I can see that some participants are of Inter itself. So if you know my teaching pattern in the last 15 minutes, you will revise the entire chapter. That I can bet on you. I can guarantee that entire chapter would be revised by me. So schedule 2, para 1 says that if any transfer of the title in the goods, title means ownership. Title means ownership. If the ownership is being transferred, then it is a supply of the goods. Transfer of the right in the goods or undivided share in the goods without the transfer of the title is a supply of service. So the title I'm keeping myself, but I'm only giving for the purpose of use. Let's say I have the motor vehicle I have given for 1 day. So for which I'm charging some amount. So it is a supply of service. Clause C says, any transfer of the title in the goods under an agreement which stipulate that property in the goods will be passed on at future date upon full consideration. So like hire purchase transaction. What happened in the hire purchase? In case of the hire purchase, the purchaser received the goods immediately, but the ownership would be received at a later date when he will pay full consideration. That hire purchase is also the supply of the goods. Okay. Land and building. So what we have understood, that land and building, if it is completed land, if it is completed building or only land, it is sold, then it is out of GST. But if it is under construction building, property, which we will talk about in para 5, then it is chargeable to GST. Correct? But here we are talking about land building, lease, tenancy, easement, or letting out, etc., commercial, industrial, or residential complex for the business or commerce purpose. Then it is a supply of service. Because we have discussed that land and completed building cannot be the supply of the goods. So if they like to create the taxability, they can make taxability only by saying the service, right? Treatment or the process. Any treatment or process which is applied on the another person goods is a supply of service. Example, job work. So Mr. A is a manufacturing entity of the goods, let's say sari, and he has given the sari to the Mr. B only for the job work purpose, embroidery, stitching purpose, and he is returning the goods to Mr. A. So who is the owner of the goods? Mr. A. But B is doing some treatment, some process on another goods, so that is job work, which is supply of service. Transfer of business asset. If it is transferred permanently, then it will be treated as supply of the goods. If it is transferred temporarily for other than business use, it is supply of service. Let's read the clause A. When the goods forming part of the asset of the business are transferred or disposed of in such a manner, it is no longer form part of the asset. No longer means permanently transferred. Permanently, then it is a supply of the goods. If goods are being transferred temporarily, then it is a supply of service. So para 4b, wait. So para 4b says, it's missed by me. So para 4b says, it is being transferred for use other than business. So it is not permanently transferred. It is for the purpose of other than business use. Then it is treated as supply of service. Para 4c says that where any person ceases to be a taxable person, any goods forming part of the asset of the business carried on by him shall be deemed to be supplied by him in the course or furtherance of business. Unless, so they are saying the exception is going concern. What is the going concern? Going concern like Air India has disposed of one unit and transferred to the Tata permanently, but that business is not shut down. Business is not shut down. It is being transferred, but the business will be carried on by another person. It means the business is continue, only ownership is changed. It is going concern basis. So if it is transferred, if the cease to be a taxable person, then it will be treated as supply of the goods. But in case of the going concern basis, it cannot be taxable. If you read the relevant exemptions, you will find that service by way of the transfer on a going concern is covered in the exemption notification. So it means if it is not going concern, it will be taxable as goods. If it is transferred on a going concern, it is not goods, service, and also it is exempted service. So it can be transferred on a going concern, or business is being carried on by the personal representative who is deemed to be the taxable person. So in case of the liquidation of the company, liquidator is appointed. Okay. So he will be the representative, correct, of the company. Then it will be not taxable in these two cases, but otherwise it is taxable. Now this, I am doing the comparison of supply of immovable property schedule 2 versus schedule 3. So this comparison is very, very important. Now, there are two pictures. You can see these two pictures. One is like under completion. Second is completed. Now, one has sold the immovable property. Whether sale is before completion or sale is after completion, who or what is the deciding factor? Answer is consideration. Let's say I'm a real estate. I'm doing the business of the real estate. I am selling one flat to you because this scenario is covered in the schedule 2 and taxable in the GST as a service. This scenario is covered in the schedule 3 and out of GST. So mean when this transaction, sale of flat, will be considered under construction or when it will be treated as after completion. So the answer is that time of the consideration is the deciding factor whether it is taxable or out of GST. If the consideration is before this event, what is that? There are two names: completion certificate of first occupation. Please remember these two names. Completion certificate of first occupation, whichever is earlier. So let's say it is 1st October and it is, let's say, 5th October. So you can say whichever is earlier means one date will be there, 1st October. If consideration is being received, 100% consideration is being received after this date, then it will be treated that I have sold the completed flat to you and it will be out of GST. But if you give part consideration prior to this date, part consideration after this date, full consideration prior to this date, it will be treated that I have sold the under construction flat and GST would be chargeable on the entire value of the flat. Sometime you might confuse. Let's say I am saying the 10% payment is being received before 1st October and let's say 90% payment is being received after 1st October. So will the GST be charged on 10%? No, sir. The GST would be charged on full value. Reason is, say, if you receive 100% payment after completion, then only it will be out of GST. So 1 minute का break लेना चाहता हूं. So the only point that if the full payment is being received after completion or first occupancy, whichever is earlier, after this date, then only it will be out of the GST. If it is part before, part after, entire amount would be taxable in the GST. I hope it is clear. Quickly confirm कीजिए so that I can move to the next para. This was the theory of that particular para, relevant para, that supply of the service, construction of complex building, civil structure or a part thereof, including the complex or building, intended for sale to the buyer wholly or partly. So this is schedule 2 and this is schedule 3, except where the entire consideration has been received after particular date. Okay. So they are saying if it is after, then it will be covered in this particular line. Try to read. Subject to clause B, para 5, schedule 2, sale of building. Why they are saying subject to clause B? They mean to say that if building is before completion, then it will be covered in the schedule 2, para 5 clause B, chargeable full amount. If it is after, then it is covered in the schedule 3 out of GST. Sale of land always cover in the schedule 3. So I hope it is clear. Quickly confirm करें so that I can move to the paras. Next para. ठीक है. This says that competent authority means the government. So here they have used the word in the para that issuance of the completion certificate wherever recorded by the competent authority. What is the meaning of competent authority? Competent authority means government or any authority authorized to issue the completion certificate under any law for the time being in force, and in case of non-requirement of such certificate from such authority, then any of the following: architect registered under the Council of Architect, chartered engineer or licensed surveyor. Now, in the para 5, they are saying transfer any temporary transfer, underline the word temporary transfer of intellectual property right is a service. Intellectual property right means goodwill, trademark, copyright, etc. Then with respect to information technology software, development, design, programming, customization, adoption, upgradation, enhancement, any work related to the software, it will be the service. Now this particular clause is very, very important. Why it is very, very important? Because in the next class, I will explain in along with circular 178. So much important circular. It has given the ample clarity to this clause. Agreeing to the obligation to refrain from an act, or agreeing to the obligation to tolerate an act, or agreeing to the obligation to do an act will be service. But prima facie it appeared that like liquidated damage, notice period, everything would be covered in this clause, and therefore it is chargeable to GST. So one simple question, let's say Mr. A is an employee of the XYZ Limited. He has the notice period of 3 months. He is giving the resignation to the organization, but not serving 3 months. So he is ready to make the payment of 3 months ka salary. Let's say his salary is 1 lakh rupees per month. So he is making the payment of 3 lakh to the organization. Now the doubt is whether company need to pay the GST on 3 lakh. Mostly answer was yes prior to circular 178. Circular 178 says it is not something agreeing to the obligation, refrain from an act, or to tolerate an act. So therefore no GST. This is the reason why circular 178 is important, because they have clarified each and every term by taking 10-11 example, 10-11 situation. So I will discuss all these situations in the next class. Okay. Transfer of the right to use any goods for any purpose for cash, deferred payment, or other valuable consideration is a supply of service. Okay. That circular we will discuss in the next class. So, one second. Only one para is only I like to discuss. Last para of the schedule 2. Last para of the schedule 2 I like to discuss, and then we'll conclude our today class. We'll do the quick revision, and then we'll meet in the next class. What is the last para? Composite supply. So in this para, the two clauses, clause A, works contract, clause B, supply the food and beverages. Both are treated as supply of service. Both are treated as supply of service. As per section 2, clause 119 of the CGST Act, works contract means contract for building, construction, fabrication, completion, erection, installation, fitting out, improvement, modification, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration, or commissioning. 14 different type of the word has been used in the definition of work contract, but it is saying with respect to immovable property. It means if underlying property is movable, can it be work contract? No. Then what would be the answer? What I'm saying, let's say you're given the repair of printer or computer. Will it be work contract? Prior to the GST, whenever there is a goods and service element in a single work, it is called as work contract. Because in the repair of the computer, engineer will come, and he will change the part, whatever the coverage of the AMC contract. So the AMC contract was work contract service prior to the GST. But now is it work contract? Simple answer is no, because computer are not immovable. Computer are movable. Printer are movable. So will AMC contract is work contract in the GST? No, not at all. Then what is that? So if it is movable, then what would be the answer? Either it would be the composite supply or it will be the mixed supply. That is the, again, very, very important discussion which we will do in the next class. If two or more taxable supply, goods, both service, one goods, one service, what would be the answer if underlying property is movable? Either it will be the composite or it will be the mixed supply, but let's wait for the next class. wherein the property in the goods is involved in the execution of the contract. So what is that? Supply of service. Okay. Food and beverages supply by way of or as a part of any service in any other manner whatsoever of the goods being food or any other article for human consumption where such supply or service is for the cash, deferred or valuable consideration. Means whenever the food and beverages is being supplied other than alcoholic liquor. So then it is called as supply of service. It is called as supply of service. By this, we have completed the schedule 2. So today we have completed schedule 1. We have completed schedule 2. Next class, we will complete schedule 3 and some circular like 178. If time permit, then we will take up the circular in detail of principal agent. And in the last, we will discuss composite and mixed supply. That would be the agenda of the next class. In case of any confusion, please ask. Otherwise, I will move to the quick round of the question answer. So let me start the quick round of the question answer. Security deposit is a consideration or not? Whether security deposit is a consideration or not? Whether security deposit is a consideration or not? The right answer is security deposit is not the consideration. Next question, when the security deposit will be consideration? Next question, when the security deposit will be treated as consideration? The answer is when it will be applied, adjusted for consideration. Correct? So I have given the example of renting of that property. Correct? Absolutely correct. So give me the two name of the item which are neither goods nor services. Give me name of the two item which are neither goods nor services. Name of the two item which are neither goods nor services. Name of the two item which are neither goods nor services. The answer is name of the two item which are neither goods nor services. Money and securities. Absolutely correct answer. Can you tell me goods are movable property or immovable property? Goods means every kind of the movable property or every kind of the immovable property. Goods means every kind of the movable property or every kind of the immovable property. All movable, all kind of the movable property. Absolutely correct. Please tell me the definition of the supply is inclusive definition or exhaustive definition. Starting with the word includes or it is starting with the word means. It is starting with the word means or it is starting with the word includes. Right answer is inclusive definition. Absolutely correct. Now, can you please tell me that there was one exception of business? So, in that exception we have discussed, in the course or furtherance of business or not, it is irrelevant. It will be the supply provided. What was that exception? What was the exception for business nature? What was the exception for the business nature? So, whether or not in the course of furtherance of business, we will ignore, but that transaction will be supply if it is, what was that exception of the business? The right answer is yes. import of service with consideration. Can you please tell me which schedule we will refer to decide whether my transaction is goods or services? Can you please tell me which schedule I will refer to decide my transaction is a supply, decide my transaction is a supply of the goods or supply of service? Can you please tell me which schedule will decide whether my transaction is a supply of the goods or supply of service? Schedule 1, Schedule 2, or Schedule 3? Which schedule will decide goods or service? Answer is Schedule 2. Answer is Schedule 2. Can you please tell me any one amendment which is retrospectively made? Can you please tell me one amendment which was inserted later on but made retrospectively? It was made applicable retrospectively. Name of the amendment which was made retrospectively effective. Which amendment was made retrospectively effective? The answer is 71AA, that is club to the member or vice versa. Excellent. In the consideration, we have discussed one example of insurance company. If the insurance company is giving something, then it will not be the consideration and not the supply. We have discussed one technical term. Can you tell me that name? One something, I forgot the name. Can you recall? Can you tell me the name which was used and we have discussed that it is not treated as consideration by Mr. A to the insurance company or vice versa, something like that we have discussed. One technical name we have discussed. What was that? Yes, no claim bonus. Whether artwork sent by the artist to galleries for exhibition, is it a supply? Artwork sent by the artist to galleries for exhibition, will it be a supply? Will it be supply? Answer is no, it is not the supply. It is not the supply. In the schedule 1, we have discussed para 1, para 2, para 3, para 4. My question is, when we see the ITC condition, in the para 1, can you help me? We are looking to the ITC condition. What was that? Para 1, we have discussed some ITC condition. Can you please tell me what was that condition? In the schedule 1, para 1, there are some ITC condition. What was that? Can you elaborate first condition, first para of the schedule 1? Permanent transfer or disposal of business asset, correct, where no ITC has been taken, then no GST. If ITC has been taken, then yes, GST is there. In the schedule 1, we are talking about if you supply the goods or services to whom. In the schedule 2, we have discussed if you supply these two person, then it will be supply even without consideration. In the para 2, we are talking about supply the goods or services to whom? To whom? To, if we are supplying the goods or services to whom? Yes. What was that? Related party or distinct person. Can you help me to answer any two name for the related party? Can you answer any two name for the related party who are considered as related person? Employer, employee, holding subsidiary, partner, director. Thank you so much. Now, if you are transferring the goods right now, but title ownership is being transferred at a later stage, when you give the full consideration, is it a supply of the goods or supply of service? Transfer of the title in the goods right now, but property ownership would be transferred at a future date. Will it be goods or service? Will it be supply of the goods or will it be supply of service? Answer is supply of goods, like hire purchase. Absolutely correct. So in one para, we have discussed that one is under construction property, one is completed building. So when it will be treated that I have sold the completed flat, completed immovable property to you. I have given the picture of two property. I am asking the question when it will be treated that I have supplied the completed property, immovable property to you, not under construction property. If full consideration is received, CC or first occupancy, whichever is earlier or later, earlier. So you will calculate the date from the to date. You will first calculate CC and first occupancy, whichever is earlier. And if the full consideration is being received after this date, then it will be the completed. So completed building is taxable or out of GST? Do not do the mistake. First occupancy or CC, whichever is earlier. And from this date, if 100% consideration is given after this date, then it will be treated as completed building and it will be out of GST. Right. Now, can you tell me transfer or permitting the use or enjoyment of IPR will be treated as service, temporary transfer or permanent transfer? Which transfer is a service? Temporary transfer of IPR or permanent transfer of IPR is treated as service? Answer is temporary transfer or permanent transfer? Answer is temporary transfer. Last question for the day. Last question for the day. And before that, please confirm the classes is good now. Speed, pattern, everything is okay because it is a first class. So taking the feedback. So feedback is also important, very, very important. So I'm asking the feedback for the class. Is it okay? Comfortable? And then I will ask the last question. Prerna, it was temporary transfer and answer is service. Temporary transfer and answer is service. Last question for the day. When the goods and services are supplied together and if it is movable property, is it a work contract or not? Is it a work contract or not? If it is movable property, when goods or services are being supplied together for movable property, is it a goods? Is it a works contract or not? Is it a works contract or not? So thank you very much for all the feedback. Is it a work contract or not? What is my question? If you are supplying the goods or services together in a bundled nature for underlying property as movable, then is it works contract or not? No, it is not works contract. Excellent. It is not works contract because we have discussed that work contract is with respect to the immovable property. Now, my second question, if it is not work contract, then what is that? If it is not work contract, then what is that? If it is not work contract, then what is that? You are saying that goods or services are being supplied in a bundled nature and that property, underlying property is movable. And we agree that it is not works contract. So my counter question, if it is not work contract, then what? Then what? If it is not work contract, then what? Answer is, it will be either composite supply or it will be the mixed supply that we will discuss in the next class. It will be either composite supply or mixed supply that we will discuss in the next class. So, thank you. Great. So, thank you very much. Good night to all of you. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll complete the supply chapter. Good night. अशोक जी, आप इसको क्लोज कर सकते हैं आज का डिस्कशन.